Good morning. So, you're so loud, geesers. You're so loud. Good morning. So loud. Yeah, you got a lot to say. Crazy geese. So today, we are going to tackle a chicken coop issue. So we have this larger coop that we purchased secondhand, and haven't gotten to setting it up. They actually gave us all the materials that they had when they had the little run attached and all that. Of course, to get it here, all of that had to be disassembled. So now I got to figure out how they had it all together, put it back, and try to recover from yesterday, which was just a travesty with what happened to my tractor. So we got bad news with this guy. Got really excited because I finally got all the bolts to put the mid-mount mower on and actually finally mow the field. And somebody had cracked the housing that holds the hydraulic fluid and probably the gear box in the rear. And as soon as I put the mower on, it cracked. And it started leaking hydraulic fluid everywhere. So this is definitely a repair that's bigger than I can do. And got a friend coming over who is a engineer, works on dams and things like that, so he's going to see if it's something that he can take care of and spot weld. But as you can see, it's a mess now, and it's going to take me at least 3 weeks to get it into a dealer to get it repaired. So as of right now, I'm just going to try to get it off this patio and out of the way. Not sure how I'm going to do that since I can't start it and the bucket's on the ground, but we'll make do with something. So yeah, with that happening, we are going to try to have a really productive day here. It is the last day of September, and with that, October, North Idaho, we're starting to get into weather that is going to be really sketchy. So most of the time, October is not that bad, but certainly it's a time of year where at any point you could be facing snow or 3 or 4 days of rain. So you just have to start getting projects done that are most important, specifically those that are still outside. If you got things laying around from summer, you don't want to get buried under snow. Start thinking about doing that in October, getting all that picked up and cleaned up. Any work you want to do to the garden. So we got a lot of mulch we want to get down before winter. So with all that stuff in mind, you know, every day is kind of important. This beautiful fog this morning. The sun trying to poke through there. It's certainly pretty out here. There's no complaints about the beauty, that's for sure. Got our own little national park right there, basically. I mean, it's our property, but behind it is a few homesteaders. They all have large parcels and some state land. So there's no development. My road is a dead end. It dead ends into the mountains that way. So it's a great wildlife area for sure. So let's head over to the chicken coop that we're gonna be working on and talk about that a little bit. So here we are at the coop. This is cedar, so it's a nice building, and for the price I got all this stuff here, it was, I mean, I couldn't really pass it up. We do have fencing. We've got a couple gates over there. We've got the ramp for coming out of the door. I was able to level it, so I used these blocks to level it up. And inside, let's take a look at what we're working with. Let's see if I can get this open. Give me 1 second. Not so confident that I can. There's a lot of... We had a little shifting, as you can imagine. Trying to keep this all as one piece and put it onto a flatbed that's about 2.5 feet high and drag it off with ratchet straps. So, see if I got something hard enough out here to pop this open. What is that? There we go. So we're a little tight, and looks like we are tight Oh, it's not too bad actually. All right, let's take a look inside. So it's got the lay boxes in there. What's that, 6 lay boxes? So that's nice. We're looking at about 8 by 9, I think, dimensions in here. So that's a decent size. We're gonna have a run attached to it, obviously covered for predators. And we should be able to get our about 18-20 chickens in here with no problem. Plenty of lay boxes for that. We just want to make sure they have a good outside space. And we're going to go heavy with mulch in the bottom of this, so they have tons of scratching they can do all year. Here we have, this is what they had set up for a like a brooder. So they have a nice little protected brooder, and then this whole area was covered in roofing. So we had a gate here, separate fenced in area with a brooder. So I have to figure out how all that got back together, and it's obviously going to have to be modified a little bit. We do have all the roofing material there, so that's not an issue. Material should not be an issue. If I need a few more scrap pieces of lumber, I certainly have that from the housing projects. So let's get this going, and hopefully we can make some really good progress on this today, because I do have other stuff I want to get to, obviously. So actually what's coming up is we did not do the chicken coop. I was missing a piece. I needed to proceed with that. So we did go ahead and get the garlic in the ground, work on getting the chicken feed off the trailer that we had picked up, as well as cutting a little bit of pathway down through our creek and pond area so we could clear that out a little bit. So 2 inches. We're looking at like that.
Okay.
Go a little closer here, baby. Closer. Put one right in the middle. Those are good there.
Yeah, I just switched them all up because they were all like, the tips were all on the bottom.
Yeah, that's good.
Can you not roll them if the tips are on the bottom?
Right, because that's where it comes out of. The plant sprout comes out of that.
Oh.
Aren't you guys supposed to keep turkeys away? You guys waiting for food? I bought you a bunch, Mr. Rooster. What? You gonna give me an attitude? What? Always up to chasing somebody. Oh boy. Speaking of being chased.
I'm sick of it.
No, we don't have any treats. Alright, so with the tractor broken, we just picked up our 2,000 pounds of feed that should take us into January at least. And but now I got to do it manually to get it into the garage and get it all put away and safe and dry. These bags are fairly critter proof, but they're not waterproof. We did pick this feed up from a local granary, and we had 2,000 pounds of mega layer, so that's 17% higher protein content. because it's going to be wintertime, and so they're not going to be able to forage as much. And with that, it was about $445, I believe, so that's 22.25 cents a pound. Not too bad. It just shows you how much of a benefit it is when you buy in bulk. You really do save, especially over those 50-pound bags. And this has minerals added, and it's non-GMO feed. So with all that taken into account, it's a really good price. If you get the regular layer without the added protein, which is probably what I'll get in the spring once they're able to get out and forage, that's $3.85. So less than 20 cents a pound for a non-GMO minerals added seed is fantastic. We got it secured. We're going to start using this one first, so I didn't tie that off. These are not 100% critter proof, but they are pretty hard to get into. Now, if a mouse is left up to its own devices for a while, it will get into that. These aren't the best. I just don't have enough containers like these old trash cans, which I got feed in. I don't have enough of those kind of containers or tote containers to hold all this feed. So hopefully we'll just control the mice from getting into this garage, and I'll keep using this bag here. But that is 2,000 pounds of feed already. Should take us well into January. So we'll ferment the food. I'll do a little overview of how I'm going to do that, and that should help us push into February, because I'd like hopefully to have some decent weather before I make that drive to get more feed. So we got a little bit of a trail cut, so at least we can walk around the property and start getting an idea, because what happens is we get too much water, especially with all this vegetation in there, and heard something funny. And so the creek starts to overflow, especially when the snow melts. So here's another section where it overflows, and it's kind of made its own little way here. And then up on this where I'm standing right now, it's just like an overgrown, I want to clear this all out. It's just like an overgrown island of stuff. And then this is where more of the creek splits to, and there actually is a third area, I believe. But this elevation actually goes up about 2 feet, and this was almost underwater because we had water flowing right here. So if this gets too high, if I don't divert it where it needs to go, it'll actually start to flood out our trail over there next to the garden and where I'm going to put the hoop house. So this is like an overflow section when it gets too bad. And that will lead back where that big giant tree is basically where we have a lot of overflow issues. So still a lot of work to be done. I want to get just keep the lookout for free river rock, and we can put that down and just clean this whole area up to make it just a really nice, enjoyable walking area. Not cut everything down. We want to keep a lot of the vegetation, but so much of this is just raggedy, overgrown things. We want to promote more like the cattails and the tall grasses and the rose hips and things like that. So definitely a work in progress, but at least now I can kind of start to get an idea of where exactly the water is manipulating its way through this area, because before it was just a marshy mess with all this high vegetation would just collapse over, and then it was just basically a giant hump of vegetation. You couldn't see what was going on underneath. So as I decide what I'm going to do with the pond upstream, and then I can come down here and make sure this water's diverted, instead of flooding the field, hugs the side of the field and actually utilizes where it's supposed to be going rather than everywhere. So give you another little shot. I think I'm going to call it a day today, But it's pretty. It is definitely pretty out here and peaceful. And so much of this, and the house is right back there. That's how overgrown this area is. I have like hardly explored, probably explored like outside of the field, of course, because you can see the field, but the woods area, I mean, I probably explored 5% of it since we moved in about 6 months ago, because it's just so wild and so thick. And when the springtime, it was so flooded to get back there, it made it really hard. And I was back there, I don't know, 10 days ago, maybe. And as soon as I got back to an area I hadn't been before, I heard a really loud crack in the woods. So I figured probably a bear. Could have just been a moose, but actually we get more moose attacks around here than bear attacks. So either way, I kind of just moseyed on back up to the house because I didn't want any of that. So that's it for today, and be back at it tomorrow. Going to finish up a lot of the things we didn't get to the tiles yet today, but it's dinner time to rock and roll. So until next time.
So we could clear that out a little bit.